the 1996 Chicago Bulls, the 72-win Chicago Bulls. We're talking about the team that many consider as the greatest ever. Is it any surprise that the greatest player of all time has that in his resume? It's only right. But for those against Jordan and the Bulls, they desperately seek reasons to discredit what they accomplished. When you can't attack their performance, you point to their competition. I mean, why else would a team be that dominant over their opponents? It's because they weren't that strong to begin with. How many times have we heard this from certain media members who also believe a certain player is the GOAT? That can't be a coincidence, right? But we're not here to talk about their motives. Is there any logic to their line of thinking? Well, let's talk about the first thing they mentioned to back up their claim, the expansion draft. In the 1995 offseason, the NBA added two new teams, the Vancouver Grizzlies and the Toronto Raptors. For those who don't know much about the expansion draft, each team protects up to 8 players. The expansion teams then select from the unprotected pool. If you're under the impression that all the teams got significantly worse due to this, think again. As you can see, none of the teams lost a player that was an important piece. None of the other teams suffered due to these two new additions. The Grizzlies and Raptors, of course, were going to have to build through the draft. In the short term, they weren't going to be competitive. Just like any other season that's ever existed, they were among a group of teams that were going to be easy W's. But then they'll point to the standings and laugh at the fact that there were 7 teams that posted under 30 wins. Mind you, these are the same people who say that the NBA has never seen as much talent as it does right now. But then I look at the standings for the 2024/25 season and just guess how many teams won less than 30 games. Is anyone making the same claims about the OKC Thunder, the team that won 68 games and posted statistically one of the most dominant seasons ever? Against those bottom feeders, did you know they won a perfect 16-0 against them? It's getting so bad that the NBA is planning on establishing anti-tanking rules to prevent teams from intentionally trying to be as uncompetitive as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, the double standard is real. But what truly debunks their ridiculous claim is the talent the league had. It did not take much to see just how low the NBA was with all-time great players. Let's compare the players that were voted in the top 10 for the MVP in 1996 and in 2025. In 96, we have 8 players who are in the Hall of Fame and were playing at a high level. For 2025, how many of those players do you truly think will eventually make the Hall of Fame? Are we sure about Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, and Cade Cunningham? Is the best that the NBA had to offer in 2025 better than in 1996? If you look at how they performed, you can easily make the case for the 1996 season. Did we forget just how great David Robinson was, the reigning MVP? He averaged 25 points on 52% shooting, 12.2 rebounds, 3.3 blocks, and 3 assists per game. This is only the 10th time that a player's averaged over 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 blocks. He joins the list of these iconic centers. Notice that we haven't seen this stat line for the past 26 years and counting. From an analytical perspective, he earned an 18.3 win shares, and he posted an 8.3 value over replacement player rating. This is only the 17th time that a player recorded those two numbers, and we haven't seen it since Kevin Durant in 2014. When it comes to two-way ability, this is one of the best we've ever seen. Speaking of legendary big men, what about Hakeem Olajuwon? Everyone just dismisses this season from the dream. Apparently, he magically converted to a washed-up player after he literally came off one of the greatest playoff runs ever. If you look at his numbers from the 1995 and 1996 seasons, we notice that there was only a slight drop-off. I mean, this is the same player that posted 51 points on 54% shooting, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks against the Celtics. That's his second highest scoring game of his career. Then there was the game where he posted 46 points on 70% shooting, 19 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, and 3 blocks against the Timberwolves. Or how about the game against the Mavericks, where he recorded 31 points on 62% shooting, 13 rebounds, 10 blocks, and 6 assists. That's only the 10th 30-10-10 game ever recorded. Yeah, Hakeem was still a problem in 1996, but there was plenty of new talent that was ready to take over the league. Take, for example, Penny Hardaway. If we're talking eye test, this is one of the most talented point guards we've ever seen. There was even an article from the LA Times that was proclaiming he was the next Magic Johnson. He was that great of a playmaker. But what set him apart was the number of ways he could score and his incredible athleticism. For this season, Shaq missed the first 22 games due to injuries. With Penny running the show, they went 17-5. During that span, he averaged 26.4 points on 50% shooting, 6.8 assists, 5.3 rebounds, and 2 steals per game. That's what he was capable of. Even though he wasn't at his peak yet, he was third in MVP voting. And you do realize that the Magic had the most dominant force in the game. They just came off a finals appearance and won 60 games. And we're acting like this wasn't a strong team. Shaq was 23 years old, which means he was extremely mobile. He averaged 26.6 points on 57% shooting, 11 rebounds, and 2.1 blocks per game. Those numbers were only good enough for him to be selected to the All-NBA third team. How else can you explain that other than the competition being that stiff? But trust me, the NBA had much more to offer than just their legendary centers. Could I interest you in Gary Payton, who had the greatest two-way season by any point guard in league history? He became the first point guard ever to win the Defensive Player of the Year award. Marcus Smart is the only other point guard to join this exclusive club. His aggressiveness and tenacity on defense set the tone for a Sonics team that won 64 games. Most teams built their defense around a dominant rim protector. Seattle went the other way. The smallest player on the court was causing problems for everyone. Then on the other side, he was the floor general for the second best scoring team in the league. When it was time to create for himself, he could score in a variety of ways, whether it was on the outside or in the post. How many players now has that kind of impact on both ends of the floor? If you care about athleticism, look no further than his teammate. How many players now could outjump Sean Kemp? He was one of the most exciting finishers, but he could offer much more than poster dunks. He had a great inside-outside game. For example, when he faced Karl Malone in the conference finals, he averaged 20 points per game on 69% shooting for the series. When he faced Dennis Rodman in the finals, he averaged 23.3 points on 55% shooting and 10 rebounds per game. Even the best competition at the power forward position couldn't contain this beast of a player. Speaking of power forwards, Karl Malone was one season away from winning the MVP. He was still in his prime, and he was still a problem for every defense that he faced. For the 9th straight season, he averaged over 25 points per game. As far as efficiency, he averaged 52% from the field. To give you an idea of how great he was, there was a game against the Warriors where he posted 51 points on 68% shooting and 14 rebounds. He did all this, led his team to 55 wins, and he still only finished 7th in MVP voting. Again, how else can we explain this other than the talent being that deep? Among all those great players was Grant Hill. In just his second season, he led the Pistons from 28 wins to 46. The combination of his two-way ability, versatility, all-around excellence, and explosiveness was truly unique. He led his team in points, assists, rebounds, and steals. Although he was in his second year, he was 23 years old. During this time, there were a lot of players who took their college tenure seriously, which means they were more prepared to make an impact once they were drafted. Grant Hill was one of those notable examples. These were the non-Bulls players that were voted in the top 10 for the MVP. I'm sure you noticed other great players that were snubbed. For example, John Stockton. He led the league in assists for the 9th season in a row. He averaged 11.2 assists per game. The perfect example that illustrates how great he was came in Game 1 of the first round series against the Blazers. He recorded 23 assists, which is tied for the second most in playoff history. On top of that, he only posted 1 turnover. One of the greatest point guards of all time still had a lot more to give. If you were a fan during this time, you remember the emphasis that teams put on defense. One player that is the embodiment of that era was Alonzo Mourning. This Hall of Fame center had the best statistical season of his career. He averaged 23.2 points on 52% shooting, 10.4 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks per game. Is there anyone in today's game that is this dominant of a rim protector while also scoring at a high level? There's only one, and that's Victor Wembanyama, the player that everyone considers one of the top talents in the game. He's currently averaging 24.3 points on 51% shooting, 11.2 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks per game. In 1996, those numbers wouldn't be good enough to be in the All-NBA. Just ask Zoe, who was snubbed for making the All-NBA with so much talent at the center position. Speaking of defense, there is Dikembe Mutombo, who averages career high of 4.5 blocks per game. That's the 6th highest mark in league history. There was even a game against the Wolves where he had 10 blocks along with 22 points and 16 rebounds. In today's game, he easily wins the Defensive Player of the Year award. In 1996, he finished 3rd. When it comes to defense, there's just no comparison to what we saw then and what we see now. There's other Hall of Fame talents like Reggie Miller. He helped lead the Indiana Pacers to a 52-win season. Or Mitch Richmond, who helped lead the Sacramento Kings to their first playoff appearance in 10 years. Then there was players such as Charles Barkley and Patrick Ewing, who were no longer in their prime years, but were still playing at an all-star level. They both were able to lead their teams to the playoffs. Seriously, we're questioning the talent that existed during this time. There was a great mix of young and promising talent trying to make their mark, as well as the established superstars who were playing high-level basketball on both ends. The NBA has always been a star-driven league, but they weren't the only ones who were showcasing their supreme talent. If you just took the time to watch the games, you'll see great individuality and players who are more than capable of pulling off some jaw-dropping moves. It's true, the style of play was different. Teams weren't scoring over 120 points every single game like they do now. However, there were 129 times during the season where a team scored over 120 points. You heard that right. If the rules permitted, teams could absolutely score as much as they do now. There were plenty of times where teams could score at a very high rate. But for the most part, we saw high quality basketball on both ends, and we were loving the product that was placed before us. As far as the 96 Bulls, no one is denying that they feasted on the bottom feeders. However, they were also killing the top teams and talent of the league. Against top 5 teams, they went 10-2 against them. Then in the playoffs, they went 15-3. The reason they were this dominant wasn't because of the state of the league. When you are truly one of the top 3 teams in league history, you're supposed to perform at a level above everyone else. This is not something that happens often. When it does, their victories seem too easy. We start to question how great their competition was. Don't be fooled. That's what a historic team is supposed to make them look like. This helps us appreciate even more so how great the Bulls were. We can do that while also appreciating the talent the NBA had to offer at the time. But what about you all? Is there a team or player that you feel is the most underappreciated during the 1996 season? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.